Welcome to Women Mastering Midlife, where we dive deep into the rich complexities of womanhood in our middle years. I'm your host, Victoria Bird, pharmacist, certified women's health coach, and your guide on this transformative journey. Whether you're navigating perimenopause, thriving in menopause, or mastering midlife's many transitions, this is your weekly dose of expert guidance, compassionate support, and a judgment-free space to explore it all. So get cozy, hit that play button, and let's rewrite the narrative around this remarkable stage from being something to dread into a beautiful transition. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the restorative power of rest. In our fast-paced, always-on world, it's easy to feel drained and burnt out, especially for women navigating the hormonal shifts of perimenopause and menopause. But true rest goes beyond just getting more sleep. In this episode, we'll explore practical ways to prioritize the 7 unique types of rest that can help you feel renewed, recharged, and ready to take on life's challenges during this transitional stage. So many of us walk through our days feeling tired and overwhelmed, thanks to nonstop schedules, being the mastermind of the schedules of our children and our spouses and our pets and all of the above. We often think getting a little more sleep is the answer. But Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith shares in her book, Sacred Rest, that true rest encompasses 7 different types, each serving a unique purpose. Understanding and incorporating these forms of rest into your life can significantly enhance your well-being and help to combat burnout. Burnout is a state often resulting from prolonged stress, manifesting as physical exhaustion, lack of motivation, and mental fatigue. It's a signal that we need to pause and replenish our energy through rest. When we truly rest, we allow our minds and bodies to relax and recover from daily stresses. For midlife women, quality rest is even more essential due to the physical and hormonal changes happening during perimenopause and menopause. Many experience sleep disturbances from hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety, and hormonal fluctuations, all of which can heighten fatigue and burnout risk. Medically, rest is recognized as key for maintaining overall health, preventing burnout, and boosting resilience during this transitional life stage. It's also a time for our body to recover, for our bodies to rebuild itself, to purge the toxic waste and all the garbage that we're carrying around from the day, and to be able to purge all that through sleep is critical. So first, I wanted to kind of talk you through the 7 types of rest, so that way you have an idea of where this conversation is going to go. The 7 types of rest are physical rest, mental rest, sensory rest, creative rest, emotional rest, social rest, and spiritual rest. How many times can I say rest in a sentence? Hopefully, I'm drilling into your head the importance of getting good rest. So the first thing we want to do is talk about physical rest. Now, physical rest is getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep in a night. It's also taking a nap, laying down to relax. It's making sure that we are physically stopping our body from action. Why this is so important in midlife is that our bodies have become less resilient to stress. Our body's internal clocks have shifted. So because of that decrease in progesterone, I have read that the cortisol spike that happens around early morning to get us to wake up out of bed is actually happening earlier in the night. So when your progesterone tank is empty, your cortisol starts to creep up. And this is all a beautiful circadian rhythm that our bodies have created. And if we don't have progesterone on board, we're going to see that we're wide awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then that leads to the open mind time of the anxiety, the doom drops, I've heard it called. And so this is the time that is so critical for us to really, truly be focusing on rest. So by prioritizing that 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep at night, you are really digging into helping your brain heal from the inflammatory responses of the day, helping it to clear those plaques that can lead to dementia and Alzheimer's. It has been seen to, help with brain fog, but also it's just giving our body the recognition that we have worked hard during the day and it is time to just slow down. Some other ways to physically rest outside of your napping and sleeping would be gentle movement like yoga, stretching, leisurely walks outside, preferably, but we live in the Pacific Northwest here, and the treadmill is always a solution. Getting a massage or facial doesn't sound very bad. It's time for your body to just sink into itself and stop movement. So anytime that your body is physically stopping its movement, that is when you're reaching physical rest. So mental rest, some examples, unplugging from digital devices and getting away from screens. Oh my goodness. I have had so many conversations lately with healers and helpers about unplugging from digital devices and screens. Meditation and mindfulness practices are huge during mental rest. So those breathing exercises, listening to meditations. I love the Calm app. They have soothing stories. They have bedtime stories. They have music. They have breathing exercises all in one place. They also have mantras and positive affirmations in there. So if you haven't checked out the Calm app, I highly suggest it. This is not a paid ad, but I wish it would be. Sometimes taking the time to read fiction and calm the mind with something like a jigsaw puzzle or coloring. You'd be surprised. I feel like whenever I have these conversations with people about taking time to color or go to the local, we have a painted plate here where you paint pottery, or doing the jigsaw puzzle on the kitchen table, reading something other than nonfiction. And I was against it personally as somebody who is a strong nonfiction reader in my house. But I started digging into fiction, and sometimes it's Audible, sometimes it's Kindle, sometimes it's a paper book. But just getting into a story that is completely outside of your own, it's an escape from the mental exhaustion of every single day. Sensory rest is also something that's important, which is spending time in nature. So getting away from the bright lights of the city, the loud noises of the city. And it's kind of funny because people consider where I live the country. We live on an acre at the end of a dead-end road, and we live on the Sound. So we don't have the downtown traffic. And when we go out of town and stay in a big city, sometimes the noises, I get less sleep when I travel than when I sleep at home. And so actually, I'm getting to the point in my life where, because the sensory rest is so important for my body, I have planned noise canceling earbuds and foam earplugs and an eye mask, and even taking melatonin with me on trips to just be able to give myself that time. There is something also to be said about sitting in silence. I feel like having the background TV on or having music playing in the background. Now, solfeggio frequencies are something totally different. Solfeggio frequencies are at a certain hertz of music that have actually been studied and proven to help calm the brain. So if you do need music, but you want to give your body that sensory rest, I suggest solfeggio frequencies. There's playlists. I have a playlist on Spotify. You can make a playlist. You can Google search it. And sometimes there are designated frequencies in music for certain mantras or feelings we're trying to elicit from our body. But having silence is not a bad thing. I used to wonder why my mom would sit in the car and not have the radio on if us kids weren't in it. And now I understand. Oh, the power of wisdom and experience and time. Also, something like getting blackout curtains, especially this time of year. We live somewhere where it is light. I think the sun came up like before 6 today, and we're not even at the solstice. So just having blackout curtains, using aromatherapy, essential oils, taking a bath, just something that reduces the constant sensory stimuli that our society is providing us. Creative rest is the fourth type of rest. So visiting art museums, going to concerts, immersing in other creative works, it's part of resting your body. So heading out to the museum on a Saturday, or going to see an installation or an exhibit, summer concert series, there's something to be said about getting outside and being in an amphitheater and enjoying music. I know that there are times that I listen to music and it elicits certain feelings in my body. And I think being that part of creative rest, of going to a concert, feeling the live music, experiencing it, we did get on the pre-sale list for the Eras Tour, and I have teenage daughters. We saw her in concert, and even my husband, who is not a Swiftie, 100% appreciated the experience and said he's never experienced a concert like that. And it's moving, it's visual, it's auditory, it's emotional. There's people crying, there's people hugging. It's just, there's something about going to a concert. So if you have the ability if you want the quiet creative rest, go to a museum. If you like more busy and immersive rest, go to a concert. Do a craft, color, knit, play an instrument. I think that also gets back to mental rest. You're combining that creative rest and mental rest. So if you don't feel like you have time to do 7 things, it's a twofer. Do a puzzle, color, knit, play an instrument. I was talking to my daughter today about she wants to learn the piano. She knows the flute. She's played the flute. She knows the guitar and the ukulele, but now she really wants to get into piano. She says that's her favorite. And so I'm like, how do we figure this out? Because I want to just, if somebody can emotionally connect with playing piano and can do it and enjoy it, that could be creative rest for her. So I'm all for it. And I think creative writing, whatever your creative outlet is. So whatever speaks to you, if it's, making clothes, knitting a quilt, even just playing with makeup or painting your nails, doing something that expresses who you are. Number 5 is emotional rest. So that's a journal to process your feelings. I have always done gratitude journaling. I've gotten away from it for a while and I can feel the difference. It was funny, 2 days ago, I was in my closet and I was reorganizing and I was thinking to myself, wow, I have not done my gratitude journaling in a long time. The 5-minute journal is perfect. It's a great way to start. It's just starting with gratitude. It's just finding something positive in the day. So it's a morning before you get going, what you want your day to be, and then a reflection at the end of the day. So it's 5 minutes. If that's all you can give yourself the 5-minute journal. But even if you don't want to buy a journal, just paper, notebook, just an old notebook. I don't know about you, but at the end of the school year, I'm amazed at how many spiral bound notebooks we need to buy and how very few pages are used in them. So, we have like 6 or 7 spiral bound notebooks at the end of the school year, this time of year. And if you tell your kids they can take out those pages that they used and use that notebook for journaling, or you could use it, tell them they could have a bonfire with their notes from biology. I'm sure they'd be happy with that. Also, for emotional rest, talking to a supportive friend. Having a web of support is so important for women, but especially having that supportive friend. I talked to a girlfriend of mine a little while ago about, supportive friendships. And we discussed Brene Brown was talking to Oprah on a show one day, and it was your bury the body friend. Like, who is that one person that if I needed help burying a body, they would come with the shovel and the tarp, not ask any questions and never talk about it again. That is the kind of friend that is your supportive friend to listen. You got to do it too. It's got to be reciprocal. But for your emotional rest, having that person, having that supportive friend, saying no to draining commitments. I'm going to say it louder for those in the back. Saying no to draining commitments. I really don't feel like that needs an explanation. But I've always said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Because there are so many times I have found that not focusing on prioritizing what I think is important for my time and what I know won't be mentally and emotionally and physically draining for myself and saying yes to those things, my whole body takes a toll. And the older I get, the less I know I can do that. So say no to draining commitments. And let's practice self-compassion. That is actually a good example of emotional rest. So let's take self-compassion and think to ourselves, okay, if I wouldn't say this to my friend or my spouse or my child, why am I saying it to myself? Why am I saying that I'm a failure or that I can never do this or I'm stupid or I'm dumb or I'm fat or I'm ugly or I'm wrinkled? Like, why? Why are we doing this to ourselves? We wouldn't say this to our friends because we know that it would damage them emotionally. So let's give our bodies a rest and practice some self-compassion. Number 6 of the 7 is social rest. So spending quality replenishing time with loved ones is a good example. So having that quality family time or time with your best friend or time with a neighbor that you connect with, but quality time with loved ones, your nearest and your dearest. Also setting boundaries with draining relationships. If you have people in your life, in your family, in your job that you can't get away from, you have to be able to set boundaries around your personal, it's practicing, protecting your peace is what I call it when I set boundaries with draining relationships. I'm practicing protecting my peace because it's so important that we protect our peace, and we don't do that. We let people walk all over us, or we know we all have like that aunt or uncle or cousin or grandparent or parent that when you know you're going to visit, you're just like, oh, this is going to be exhausting. And you have to prepare yourself to go in the door. Let's set some boundary around those relationships. Let's limit our time, limit our contact, limit our conversation. If talking politics or world events is something that they love to do, almost because I feel like there are some people in this world who know that you politically or world event disagree with them, and they will start talking about it just to pick a fight. So let's set some boundaries around those people. Let's decide in midlife, you know what, Aunt Sally, I don't want to talk about the election with you, or I don't want to talk about religion with you, or I don't want to talk about how I'm raising my child with you. You don't have to say that to them. You can just decide, I'm going to protect my peace, and I am not going to get into X, Y, Z in this draining relationship. Also, not filling your social calendar to the point where you're so exhausted that you don't have time off for yourself. We like to look at our calendar and once every 2 weeks, preferably, but at least once a month on the weekends, have a day where we just stay home. You can sleep in late, you can lay in bed and read a book, you can stay in your pajamas, not overfilling our calendars. And as moms, I feel like, especially coming out of the pandemic, we said a yes to everything. Yes to every birthday party. Yes to every event. Yes to every school function. And it's okay to say, I'm reaching my social capacity this month. I need to start saying no. Or I will go to the PTSA meeting this week, but next week, I'm not going to go to this PTSA meeting. I feel like they're every week. Or I know that the mandatory meeting for parents of dancers isn't something I can miss, but I can catch the Cliff's notes on this school meeting or this meeting about a neighborhood cleanup project. There's ways to decide what your social obligations really truly are and what you're saying yes to. And when you need a long time, it's okay to decline. You give yourself permission. If you're not going to give yourself permission, consider me right now giving you permission to say no. And the 7th is spiritual rest. And whether you consider yourself a religious person or not, prayer and meditation are important things for our human bodies. Our human brains were made of the fabric that we need to be spiritually resting. So volunteer. If going to church isn't your thing, if going and experiencing organized religion isn't for you, volunteer for a cause that's meaningful to you. You get to pick it. Spend time in nature, go on a hike and be around things that we still, there is science behind why things are created. But if you look around and you just take in the sheer beauty of nature, it's spiritual. Having meditation on your own values and your own purpose in this life is so important. The key is to be intentional about mixing and matching activities from the different categories to allow your mind, body, and spirit to fully recharge in diverse ways. The key is to be intentional about mixing and matching activities from the different categories to allow your mind, body, and spirit to fully recharge in diverse ways. Now let's discuss why incorporating regular rest is especially beneficial for women navigating the hormonal roller coaster of perimenopause and menopause. As hormone levels fluctuate, many women in midlife struggle with sleep issues, stemming from hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety, and other physical discomforts. This lack of sleep quality can significantly heighten burnout risk, making it crucial to prioritize restorative rest practices. Some solutions include hormone therapy, establishing a calm sleep routine, managing stress through relaxation techniques, and discussing melatonin or other sleep aid options with your doctor. So there are sleep aids out there that doctors can prescribe. There's Ambien, Sonata, Trazodone. Trazodone's different than Ambien and Sonata. Trazodone is not a controlled substance, so it's not considered habit forming. All of these will help you sleep, but they do affect your HRV, so your heart rate variability, meaning that it's not the best kind of sleep you can get. So if you can avoid the sleep aids, if you can avoid the Benadryl, even melatonin. So melatonin is a naturally produced hormone in our bodies. And when we start to supplement it, our body starts to decide it doesn't need to make it as much. So if you're supplementing melatonin every single day, it's not necessarily habit forming, but you have to start upping your ante on that dose because your body is like, hey, I don't need to make this because it's already here. Why would I produce more than what's already present? So that's one of the reasons why we really need to focus on limiting sleep aids. But hormone therapy is a game changer. If you are having hot flashes in the middle of the night, you are getting night sweats. So that 3 a.m., woke up, pajamas are soaking wet, have to change the sheets, your partner doesn't want to sleep in bed with you anymore. That is estrogen all over the place. Estrogen is kind of your internal thermostat regulator. So adding hormone therapy or something for hot flashes. If you are against hormone therapy, you can talk to your doctor about other non-hormone therapy options, such as gabapentin, Veoza. There are some SSRIs at low doses that people can take for hot flashes. But before you try any of these non-hormone therapy treatments or hormone therapy, you have to talk to a doctor who's going to prescribe them. I'm just laying out some options because people have contraindications, they have health issues. I am not a doctor. I am not a prescriber. This is not medical advice. I'm just kind of giving you the information. Another thing we can focus on if you don't want to take medication of any kind is a calming sleep routine. And, if you are a parent, you've experienced putting a child to sleep and knowing that if they have a routine in place, they will go to bed much faster, they will sleep better, they will sleep longer, they will wake happy. And so if you were like me as a mom of a youngster, I was like the bedtime routine drill sergeant. It's like you did the bath, you did the warm milk, you read the book, you tucked in, you had the snugglies, you had the nightlight. You say adios, you back out of the room, and those all have to start at a certain time. So as menopausal women and perimenopausal women who are having these hormone fluctuations, we need to have a good sleep routine in place. I cannot stress this enough. Okay, ladies, it sounds simple, but it's not easy. Trying to get 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep when you wake up at 3 a.m. every night, you have a snoring partner, you have a partner with an alternating work schedule, so they're getting up at different times. You have kids with late activities that are impeding your bedtime. These are all things, and you have to look at some of them as fleeting. Kids will begin to drive, sports will end, yada, yada. But also do the best you can. And also think about where your time is going. If you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're picking up your phone and you're doom scrolling at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., that's not going to serve you. And if you are affected by blue light, now I will say that blue light does not affect everyone the same way. And a new study just came out that some people actually don't have an issue with blue light. So if you can watch TV or read on your Kindle, on your phone, on an app, and it doesn't affect your ability to fall asleep, by all means. But removing blue light from your night an hour before bedtime, 2 hours before bedtime is not a bad thing. Having a cool, dark, quiet room, very important. Opening a window, having some sort of air purifier that kind of cools the air off a little bit. Those are all things that can help with sleep. So let's talk about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a way to figure out what we're doing to help us sleep better. 5 hours before bedtime, cut the caffeine. 4 hours before bedtime, stop eating. Your digestive system needs to rest while you're sleeping. And if you eat too close to bedtime, that's going to affect you. At 3 hours, cut the water consumption. Our bladders will wake us up in the middle of the night. Some of you may feel like you need to have a glass of water at the bedside if you wake up in the middle of the night and your throat is dry because you're sleeping with your mouth wide open. Have a glass of water. But if you're consuming large amounts of liquid 3 hours before bed, you will wake up in the middle of the night with the urge to go to the restroom. At 2 hours, we cut the blue light. So 2 hours before bed, phones off, preferably TV off, laptops, iPads, devices done. 1 hour before bed, we set the environment. We get our jammies on, we read a book, we listen to a meditation, we listen to solfeggio frequencies. But that's my trick. So my easy way to remember is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 caffeine, 4 food, 3 water, 2 blue light, 1 prepare yourself for bedtime. If you can do that, you're setting yourself up for good sleep. Now, I know we have school sports. I know we have homework. We have teenagers who want to come into our room at 10:30 at night and tell us about their day, and we don't want to stop them. But if you have the opportunity to take advantage of that, please try it. If you find that you need to take a nap during the middle of the day, if it is 3 o'clock or later, do not take a nap. Just try not to take a nap. Just do your best. So let's all just make rest a priority moving forward. Let's use this pillar of health as the foundation of our house. Because I tell you, if you can get good quality sleep, if you can prioritize rest, if you can't do anything else, if you can't focus on nutrition, if you can't focus on physical activity, if you have a very stressed out life right now and you can't do anything about that, if you have things going on in your career or your relationships, and the one thing you can control right now is if you just have the capacity for one thing, please let it be rest and please let it be sleep. And if you start small and say, this is the one thing I can do to move my sleep needle forward, you can build on that, right? My big thing is small habits make big differences. So start small. So 5 to 10 minute rest breaks like meditation, coloring, enjoying 5 minutes of silence, and then you increase over time. Experiment with different activities to see what's most rejuvenating for you. So try to do an art project outside or go for a hike. If you're miserable, it's obviously not restorative. Schedule rest time into your calendar just like you would a work meeting or appointment. If you need to schedule your nighttime sleep into your calendar, do it. And then when you have it blocked off, you know exactly what you're doing so you can say no to anything else. Listen to your inner voice. If you feel emotionally drained, if you feel like I am at my limit, I am at my capacity today, do a journaling or a social rest activity. Go sit somewhere by yourself. Do a word search. Set some boundaries. Learn how to say no to commitments that hijack your rest time. Build enjoyable rest practices into your daily and weekly routines. If you have time, create a calming home environment by minimizing your clutter, your light, your noise. If you can even just give yourself one little nook in the house. If you feel like the whole house is full of clutter and it's just noise for your brain and you can't get rest, give yourself one corner of your house that you can rest, that you can make calming. Invite others to join you for your walks or your creative hobbies. I know if I told my daughters that I wanted to go with them and go paint or make pottery, they'd be all down for it. And going for a walk around the neighborhood after dinner with your spouse or your child. You know, one of the episodes that I have on this podcast with Emily McMason, she said walking side by side with your teen eliminates that power that we have over our kids by looking eye to eye. So if you can walk side by side with your kid outside after lunch or after dinner on the weekends and talk about their day, talk about things, or just kick rocks, it's going to make you feel better when you walk in the door. Remind yourself how rejuvenating rest leaves you when you feel energized and resilient afterward. So each time you start to incorporate rest into your life, you're going to be like, oh, I remember this. I love this. This feels great. I'm going to bank this in my memory for the next time I don't want to make time for rest. If all you can give yourself in a week is 15 minutes for rest or sleep, that's fine. See if in a month you can give yourself 20. There are so many hours in the day that we give to other people. And I guarantee you that if you do these things, you're going to show up for those people and it's going to be so much better. All your quality time, it's all better. And if we really want to think about, I was, my mind kind of goes on rabbit trails. And if you're thinking about taking a walk outside, so I need to get like 8 to 10,000 steps in a day to keep my body moving. And I need to get outside. So if I combine those two, it's going to be restorative and restful, and I'm getting my step count in. And that step count will also help me be tired when it's bedtime, because if my body's moving throughout the day, it becomes exhausted and it needs to lay down and sleep. So then you're not having that middle of the night totally wired. So those are my hopefully helpful discussions around rest and sleep. And before I leave you with a closing, I do want to practice my favorite breathing technique. I like square breathing. Navy SEALs use it to help regulate their heart rate. Why can't I use it to help regulate my heart rate? I know my situations are a lot, but they're never as intense as a Navy SEALs. So it's square breathing. You inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, hold for 4, and you repeat it. So 4 counts of inhaling, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and repeat. That's my favorite. Now there's lots of different, some people like, there's like 4, 6, 8, I don't even know, or 6, 7, 8. There's so many different kinds of breathing techniques that you'll try one, you'll love it, maybe it'll work for you for a while, then you'll go away from it and you'll come back to it. But I'm just giving you one as an example that you can start doing right now. Because I think all of us watching this or listening to this can count to 4. And remember to use your belly when you're breathing. When you inhale, your belly should blow out. You should have a big, full belly when you are inhaling. Take in all that air and then let it all out. If you did it with me, you probably already feel better. Know that it's okay also in social breaks to take social media breaks. We don't need to announce it. We don't need, fanfare or a conversation around it. Just take a weekend. Take a week, take a month. Stop using it. If you find that has so much mental space of yours taken up, then don't use it. I take breaks on occasion and it feels good. And then I want to come back and I want to share and I want to connect with other people doing this same work. So just step away. So in closing, true holistic rest is a vital need. It's not just a nice to have luxury, especially for women navigating the hormonal changes and unique stressor. True holistic rest is a vital need, not just a nice to have luxury. Women navigating the hormonal changes and unique stressors of perimenopause and menopause absolutely have this as a necessity. By understanding and embracing these 7 types of rest, you give your body, mind, and spirit what it needs to thrive during this transitional stage. You're also avoiding harmful burnout. Nobody wants to burn out. Start small if needed, but make rest a consistent priority by purposefully scheduling and protecting pockets of restorative activities in your daily life. Until next time, prioritize your rest and you'll reap the energizing rewards. Rest well, everybody, and we will catch you next week. Thanks so much for joining me today. We'll be back next week for another episode of Women Mastering Midlife. Until then, find us on Instagram at Women Mastering Midlife and join my free Facebook community, Women Mastering Midlife, to continue our discussions. If you have any questions that you'd like answered on an Ask Me Anything episode, send your emails to hello@missvictoriaberg.com.